Live from the racing capital of the world, we made our way to Speedway, Indiana, where today drivers focus themselves up for the task at hand, gearing up for the iRacing Indy 500. Delighted to have your company here as we get set to go racing for what is bound to be an exciting evening ahead. All in preview, of course, of the real world and the Indy 500 this weekend. Our sim racing drivers get their chance to head out onto track. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Delighted that you join us here today for a special from May. Boy, what an interesting schedule that we've had across the course of this season, but of course all roads have led to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Belle Isle will greet us next week, but I'm expecting in many ways that our strength of field maybe not going to be as high as it will be tonight, where drivers will be focused on the grind that is the iRacing Indy 500 qualifying time. Let's talk championship very quickly though, because well, we've talked about the fact that Adam Blocker, trackside with Agustin Canapino for Juncos Hollinger Racing is going to be missing a large handful of the back half of the season, and well, that has meant that Phil Krause has sprung himself away to a not insignificant championship advantage. Behind though is close for third between Jacob Oster and Kevin Burrell, who's got some team news to discuss maybe in a few moments time, and then 2 points between Brandon Roseborough and Rob Malechka. Handful of drivers as well, still very much locked in battle. But we are back home again in Indiana. Let's turn it over to Jim Neighbors for the first time here on RaceSpotTV in the month of May.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
And the dulcet tones of Jim Neighbors, always recognizing the fact that we are back home here in Indiana once more. Ready to go racing though for 80 laps at Speedway, Indiana. Let's run you down trackside to today's starting grid, where how important is qualifying going to be? Well, I'm not sure, because not everybody is going to show their hand. It's just the 1 lap qualifying rather than the traditional 4 lap average. But let's run you down trackside where we've got some team news down on the grid. Brandon Traino will lead us to the green, the king of the bricks with a 39.147, alongside of his Team I5G teammate Hamilton Akabuwizi, who was almost identical in times to Marco Aurelio Brazil in the 10 Factory Sim Racing machine. And then Brendan Lichtenberg, the hyperstar, lines up on the outside of row number 2. Michele Costantini in his brand new colors, no longer representing the Apex Racing team, now the purple and orange of VRS Kawanda. He's alongside of Nick Sudik in the All-American iRacers with Team Watson Racing entry, down to 7th to find Adam Blocker, busy of course trackside at the Speedway, making sure to come back virtually to the Speedway on a Monday night. Matt Pavelski was there during qualifying weekend. He lines up alongside on row 4 with Christopher Demerit, alongside of Mark Murphy in his new Indy Alliance Racing colors. Kevin Burrell also now represents the Indy Alliance Racing. He's alongside Matt Taylor in the Madworks Motorsport entry, with 13th going the way of Matt Holliber, 14th for Steele B. Langford. Lucas Lodato, Rashad Craig, and then Carl Clenworth and Jason Brophy rounding your top 18. And again, remember, not expecting everyone to have put in representative lap times, with some maybe thinking, let's not show our hand heading into the month of June and what is to come. Connor Harrington, Rob Malechka, Jacob Oster, Alexander Russell, Andrew Marquez, and then Phil Krause. 24 IndyCars locked up and ready to go racing for 80 laps here as they roll away for a formation lap. Should be a fun one, and of course with the 80 lap marker, it does bring the potential for some interesting calls on fuel. Pace car is going to pull off and away, and remember, 2 wide start, no 3 wide for us here unfortunately. Only time we get the 3-wide start is in the month of November with the open wheels 500-mile race. Shout out, by the way, to Jason Brophy. Tomorrow is one of the longest races in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, which is still only around 160 laps, 240 odd miles around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we know that Jason crew chiefs alongside Matt Busa in the Kevin Harvick Industries machine. But he's out here in force and racing tonight, even though I'm sure the rest of his eNASCAR counterparts out there and getting ready to go racing. We, as ever, do have a couple of drivers who are sending them a look, sending us rather, I guess, a look behind the scenes as to what is happening. There's a look at the Worm Man, who, by the way, has got that RaceSpot US 500 hat on. 10 out of 10 for that. Nick Sudik in the All-American iRacers machine, ready to go as well. And last but not least, Alexander Russell, Satellite Racing's entry back in 22nd. Dakota DiCienzo has just said that pineapple goes on pizza. A, no. Dakota, you're going in the bin outside of this YouTube chat. But B, oh, it's the month of May, and it is the best month of the year. We've got IndyCar, NASCAR, Formula One, Nürburgring 24-hour racing, all coming up this weekend. But today, these drivers, with 80 laps locked onto the board, go racing in Speedway, Indiana. Speed is building up, and as it sits right now, only a swap around inside of the top 4 up front. But finally, a couple easy to the inside of Brandon Traino, and into turn 3, swapping back and forth. We've landed back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Trouble behind. Now, Steel B. Langford was at least one of the cars that got mixed up. I see Matt Taylor, Jacob Oster. Oh, we couldn't even get back around to the yard of bricks. See the end of lap number 1. Slow the field down, a couple easy up front, and we can immediately probably go back and take a look at some of the replays as to what happened. Maybe instigated around where Matt Taylor was in the MadWorks Motorsports car. So he's on the outside here. Oh, and I couldn't quite tell who it was. Now, Rashad Craig got slightly airborne. Definitely not the intention, but was the result. Pace car picks up the drivers and not expecting anyone down to pit lane this time by. Grabbing up another couple of looks at the replay when we can. But as AJ Musselman says, oof. But I've got to question. Where is AJ Musselman in the 510 Esports entry? It would have been nice to have him in the field. But I'm sure in many ways getting ready to go. Next week, of course, for the qualifying grind. There's a couple of cars faking down onto pit lane. And some others not faking down onto pit lane. So Mark Murphy from 10th position becomes the first driver to sequence their way on into pit lane. Interesting call. See how it ends up stacking up for them. AJ says that he now works Pacific hours, which that I can appreciate as a fellow West Coast worker. It's great to see Matt Holber, who is often someone that we want to see racing here on these Monday nights, but you know, he also regularly works Pacific hours. He's been able to join us, which is very, very nice to see. Let's go back though, take a look at the replay from up above. Might tell us a bit more into turn 3. So just a look to the inside. He's up a groove, and yeah, Matt Taylor's, you know, holding his line, and Rashad Craig, I think that was, takes a little bit of air off the rear of Matt Holloway. Now, what happened to Connor Harrington in all of this? Riding from the nose cam, first of Rashad Craig. Now, that could have been a Scott Dixon-esque kind of moment. And then as he slams back into the track, you can see that Matt Holloway's All-American iRacing machine has also come to strive slightly further up. Let's ride on board with Connor Harrington, private label team hype entry. He's inside of Alexander Russell, and just A, doesn't slow down in time to the car in front, but then B, as Matt Taylor ping-pongs off of the outside wall. A little bit more contact made. That's gratuitous looks at the replays, yes, in many ways, but we've got time, we're under caution. Front wing going kablam and splammy. Jason Brophy picks his way through. Now that's very, very intelligent, and it's what you have to do, right? Often here at the speedway, or at any sort of a speedway race. When you see smoke in front of you, slow down, and as best you can, try and avoid being run into. There, though, is the look rearwards off of your race leader, Akabuizi. Hasn't technically, I guess, led a lap because the caution flew before the official time that we got back around to the line, but he at least fares a little bit better than the likes of Jacob Oster, who off and away from pit lane right now. Now, I do believe that wearing that RaceSpot US 500 hat adds at least, or takes away at least, a quarter of a second from your Indy 500 4-lap qualifying average here on iRacing, allegedly. Hasn't been scientifically proven just yet. As expected, though, everyone down the back of the fields has been taking these laps around the pace car speed to just continue to add off some fuel into the car, and so pace car is going to peel off and away. We'll cross the yard of bricks with officially 4 laps complete. Akabuizi, Trainer, Lichtenberg. It's I5G 1, 2, and 3, and a bit of a stack up behind, but ready to go racing, hopefully here for a lengthy green flag run in the racing capital of the world. Some side-by-side further back, that Jacob Oster and Steele Langford, but no one else really willing to fight alongside of one another just yet. It'll be the top two that slip back and forth. Now there's a big send. Michele Costantini, brand new colors for him, of course, but the same feisty Italian up the inside of Marco Brazil, and now make that I5G 1 through 4. No plenum fires for Adam Blocker. He's got that prime Powerslide Motorsports engine tuned to perfection right now. You heard the, of course, visceral anger and rage from Agustin Canapino this past weekend during his attempt to try and make it into the Fast 12. Here on iRacing, don't necessarily have to worry about that. Can afford to be a little bit more liberal in terms of your gearing occasionally. Now this is where, if you are Blocker, you've got to start thinking ahead. You know, Marco Brazil separates you from the I5G train up front. Are you going to be slightly worried about potential separation? Swapping at the front, Akabuizi takes the lead. Still Blocker frustrated. Inside line, not rolling the speed, the momentum just yet. It's the hands. Cool hands here of Nick Sudik. Blocker to the inside. Now can he make this pass happen? We'll slide up the track to Merritt, gets on through on Sudik, but in front, still alongside. Now this is what Blocker wanted, to try and compromise Brazil for a couple more corners, rather than allowing him to slip in line. Now move is done. Will Brazil work with Blocker? That gap in danger of being a draft broken. Look how close to the wall they get as well. Brazil searching for some clean air on the nose. Demerit works on the tools. Front and rear anti-roll bar, of course, alongside of the weight jacker. Oh, I see Matt Hollaby has jumped into our YouTube chat. Frustration for him, seems like a DNF in what is his first Monday night appearance this season. See what happens though, of course, in the crucial month that lies ahead. Now Christopher Demerit. He's next up to try and pass Marco Brazil in his 10 factory sim racing machine. Oh, he slides up the track. Demerit likes running the high line. It's known as the Demerit line. You can see right now he's almost bouncing off the limiter there for a moment. Very much getting stuck right now. Flyby from the rest of the cars. I've got to say, with that aero screen, I know I'm maybe slightly in the minority here, but they look really cool. Really cool. And a lot more like jet fighters. Rob Malechka fights with new Indy Alliance Racing driver Mark Murphy. Behind this grouping, Steele B. Langford and Matt Taylor are dropping off the back, but everyone else just riding in line and towing themselves around for now. And as much as Phil Kraus is just sitting at the tail end of this choo-choo train and probably learning quite a bit in terms of the balance of his setup in dirty air. Oh, look at the speed that he'll have. Jason Brophy gives him a bit of a helping hand in draft up ahead. But this is important to understand the balance of the car in the traffic. It is just a little bit too cool, I think, to give you a representative, snapshot of what it is really going to be like when we go racing June 1st and June 2nd for the return of the iRacing Indy 500. It's going to be great. Coverage to come, of course, on the iRacing Esports Network. June 1st for the open setup broadcast feature split, which will have, of course, the iRacing team themselves handling the coverage. The traditional slot of 5 p.m. UTC. So that's what, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Translate that around to wherever you are around the world, and look forward to that. You can see Demerit going super low. He's getting, I think, somewhat frustrated. He wants to get past. It's 8/10 almost now that Marco Brazil is sitting behind. Just heard that on the throttle, the liftoff, the tentativeness. Matt Pavelski being very, very ginger to manage the Firestone tires underneath him. Now, as they continue to punch away the laps, punch away with that sound as well, straight through my eardrums, yes please. Can see that as much as I'm talking about cool conditions, it's deceptively cool, right? 28 degrees Celsius in the air. It's 46 on the track. It's that wind that sometimes you've got to wonder. So it will move around, it will push the drivers around in different ways as well. How responsive can you be? So end of lap 13. Top 11 have not pitted. Andrew Marquez, the other driver that's yet to make their way down pit lane. Everyone else used the caution cycle that we had early. Not just come down in some cases and get fuel. That is what we saw from Rob Malechka, Alexander Russell, and Mark Glenwood. The rest of the drivers that came down pit lane actually did take Firestone tires, so no tire limits, might as well take advantage of it. Seems to be what the drivers have in mind. Now, I didn't get to watch too much of the Indy 500 qualifying weekend, as much as I would have wanted to. I was commentating on, 12 of the 24 hours of the 2024 iRacing Nürburgring 24-hour race, powered by Extreme Sim Racing, as there goes Demerit once again up the inside. That was close. The one thing that I think everyone has probably seen now on social media is the honesty from Catherine Legg. Do you want me to give the race car answer or the honest answer? As I think kind of the way she phrased it about how she felt about her qualifying run on Sunday. It is the 16 scariest corners in motorsport. There's no ifs or buts about it. In the real world, you get the worries, of course, of the physical consequences. Matt Pavelski's going to really try and compromise Nick Sudik. Might get the move done out through turn 4. Contact! Nick Sudik hard into the inside wall. Through the short chute of turn 3. Broken race car slides up the track. And caution flies. Indy can bite you as quick as that. And the reaction tells you all you need to know. At least it's not during the big race. Finish the story quickly as we get ready to watch that replay. But yeah, Catherine jumps out the car. Scariest 16 corners. Remember, it's trying to, every different corner, the car will be doing something different. It is your job as the driver to adjust, to react, to be on top of it, to be in front of it. The honesty from Catherine tells you all you needed to know. Here's another look at what happened. So out of turn 2, Matt Pavelski looks to the inside. So it's right around here that he starts to slide up the track, you'd argue. Not sure what Nick Sudik could have really done differently. I think hence the frustration. The world's fastest drone, by the way, in our collection now here at RaceSpotTV is busy time down on pit entry. Super slow-mo will actually show us there as well. Sudik around the outside, momentum carries him forward. He's almost up to the wall as well. So yeah, I'm not really sure what more he could have been expected to do differently. Off the back of Demerit, one final look is just bottom corner of your screen. Watch the race off the pit exit as well. Brandon Traynor will have the best pit stop in terms of the box opportunity to drop and roll, but Akabuizi challenges him. Akabuizi gets out in front. There was the look at the replay as well. Pavelski almost then hits the wall. Akabuizi, Traynor, Lichtenberg, Costantini, Blocker, Brazil, Demerit. It's still I5G 1 through 4. Christopher Demerit unable to get the leapfrog on Marco Brazil that maybe he would have been hoping to do. Rather remarkable, what was it, 5 splits of maybe 6 splits on a Monday night. Shows you the power and the popularity, of course, of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Definitely a few more splits than what we will probably have on the streets of the Motor City next week from Belle Isle, especially if the forecasts potentially hold true and some of the drivers that are going to be out there watching the Indy 500 this coming weekend end up staying an extra day if the rain, which rain please go away, does not, and the rain pushes the race back onto a Monday, which would be quite frustrating, especially since my flight is not one that I can really move. Connor Harrington's going to get a lap back, but still quite far down on the field. It was a 7-odd minute stint on pit lane for him. We'll restart with what should be 19 laps complete, and already 2 cautions today. Gael Valero, the Apex Racing Team driver, jumps in. Gael was also at one point the, 1000th member of our iRacing IndyCar community Discord. which now is above 1,000 members. We are, last I checked, at, hold on, let me get the count, stop the count, 1,030. No longer are we just a 600-person autocracy. No, now we have advanced. We have evolved. Tell you what, as we get ready to go on this restart, there's nothing more that I enjoy than turning up the sound of a Dallara IR18. Why don't we try and figure out the games played on these restarts? Let's jump on board potentially with, let's go on board with Adam Blocker, and let's see exactly what you need to be trying to do with your wits about you here. Lights off and away, pace car into pit lane, and getting ready to restart here in Speedway, Indiana. You wanted an incentive to try and make some moves. How about some fresh tires? And the driver's stacked up for the first time. Adam Blocker tried, but makes no inroads. Brandon Traynor, Calvo-Easy swapping back and forth once more. But Michele Costantini now finds himself dropped behind the Powerslide Motorsports number 6. That is the one bit of news that Adam Blocker maybe will enjoy. But fourth car in line, how much dirty air will he have to be fighting his way through and fight your way around the outside? You don't do that here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Adam Blocker makes the move and now up into third. As Kyle Valero says, it's the fling shot game. Fling yourself around the outside. Have a bit of that, says Adam Blocker. Juan G. Lin, who is competing in the iRacing Nürburgring 24 Hours in the Toyota GR86 cars. Regards. Questions. Michele Costantini drives for Coanda now. Yes, his first race in his brand new colors. Purple and orange looks good on Costantini. Ignore that logo. Producer man, there you go. Producer man got that off your screen. Professional producer man as well. What we do need to do is now, so on iRacing, of course, you have that ability to customize how your number works and looks. The way that Michele's got that yellow and white, it doesn't work on a purple and orange, you know? It just doesn't. It worked all right on his Apex Racing Team car. But it doesn't look so good on that. So we'll workshop it. Maybe Michele will have a better number, font and style come the month of June when we go racing for the big month. We saw Nick Sudik's reaction. I cannot describe to you how Michele looked at the end of the 2022 iRacing Indy 500. Now, of course, that was the race that 2021, sorry, excuse me, not 2022, 2021. That was the race that Brandon Traynor won. But Michele, when he crossed the line, so heartbroken. Like, oh, wow. I've heard some analogies from real world commentators that I just don't feel bold enough and comfortable enough saying a lot of the time. But wow, I don't think I've ever seen a driver look so sad before. And so, I'm rooting for everybody. I want everybody to win. But unfortunately, the Speedway is going to pick one winner. I would not mind if that winner, if his name was Michele Costantini. They're swapping a little bit more back in the pack as Rob Malechka tries to get the elbows out and slice and dice and carve his way on forward in the private label team Mega Hype Power Slide Hype Drive, whatever we're calling that Mega Team car now. He's up into 9th. Look at the left side of the screen. Phil Kraus moving with him as well. Now Jason Brophy, the one that's maybe slightly caught in the dirty air of Lucas Lodato. There he goes, now with a bit of drafting help from his teammate. He'll slingshot his way on forward. Confidence on power. You just listen to the way that they work here. Lift early is the thing that you're taught often. If you lift too late, you scrub off way too much speed. So Carbuisi from Treno, Blocker, Lichtenberg, Costantini. That's your top 5. Another Marco Brazil. Look at him send it around the outside. Make it stick as well. Now Adam Blocker immediately went to try and help Costantini, but didn't work out. Brazil's got the place. Costantini with a half-hearted look. Pinned to the floor. I mean, I cannot wait to hear the sound of the engines in person when I'm out there for Carb Day on Friday. Hopefully the rain stays away for that one as well. Up high, Brazil holds off Costantini once more as they now work their way onto what is lap 10 of this fuel window. We ride with Alexander Russell. Sole representative from Satellite Racing here today. Phil Kraus with a slide job gets in front. Those revs are just flashing away at him as well, I tell you. Now the peak power band, you've got to remember in these Indy cars, sits between 11,500 and 12,000 RPM. Your hard limiter is also effectively at 12,000 RPM. So how do you really, use that effectively? That's always an interesting discussion topic. Christopher Demerit fanning all the way out to the inside. That was very, very interesting. Oh, Jason Brophy pops his way around the outside, up to 11th. Now can Mark Murphy follow? No. Well, yes. But now Jacob Oster the one that gets stalled out for speed. Great thing about this fight as well is that we've got 2 different drivers who are sending us a little bit of their webcam action, and so you can see Jacob Oster in the wonderful RaceSpot US 500 hat alongside of Alexander Russell. As Marco Brazil now displaces Brendan Lichtenberg from 4th position. I5G stranglehold up front, increasingly getting separated on out. 30 laps done, this time at the Yard of Bricks. 3 wide, they fan out. Carbuisi takes over the lead once again. Had lots of people messaging me as well, asking about setups and whatnot for the iRacing Indy 500. Looking forward to seeing who all ends up trying to make a splash in qualifying, because it is the only one of the iRacing special events now, which is that was a check up behind, and now a car in the wall. It's Matt Pavelski, Mark Murphy, I think, as well. Yellow flag is not out as Pavelski hard left into pit lane. But it's built up some separation as Jason Brophy and Alexander Russell try to now work together. Trundling down pit lane, I can tell you the report for Matt Pavelski. And Phil Kraus almost in the grass. Whoa, this is feisty. Feistier than maybe it has really any right to be. For the most part, though, I think we've got it lined back on up, and the drivers will get cycled back into tow. Cool conditions maybe helping in that regard as well. So Matt Pavelski went up high. And so in front, Mark Murphy has some contact with Jason Brophy. Alexander Russell maybe also has a bit of his front wing that goes dangling. But I don't think really, realistically, either of the drivers that got caught out there did much wrong. Super slow-mo. Now, you could argue that maybe Murphy's coming from a bit far behind and maybe should, at this stage of the race, leave a little bit more room. It's just so tricky to try and understand. Adam Blocker in the live pictures powers his way forward to the race lead. We look though on board with Russell at the replay. Tell us a little bit more. Definitely saw a bit of the front wing flying there. Now I'm not sure about that. Blocker now swapping around with Brandon Traino. Two fierce rivals, to put it mildly. And two fierce rivals that won't get their chance to compete for the big crown in the first weekend of June. Brandon Traino, of course, going to be working trackside with his responsibilities as a NASCAR pit crew member. Get the tar gun out and wheel away. I don't know what the technical term for pit crewing is. Athlete away. Adam Blocker, of course, going to be working as a performance engineer for Agustin Canapino. And they will be racing from the streets of the Motor City, albeit with the bad downtown configuration. We are still fans of Belle Isle here. And so next week we go racing around Belle Isle on a Monday night, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. 5 laps to go until we reach the halfway mark of this race. We've still got 16 cars left in this leading queue. 3.2 seconds splits them on your screen in front of you. Jacob Oster is going to try and pass Kevin Burrell around the outside. Burrell left Satellite Racing a couple of weeks ago and now links up with Indy Alliance Racing. Right now he's not in the peak, now he's in the peak power band. Took him a sec there though. Oh, that was a good shot. Some of our static cameras just really illustrate the sensation of speed here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As Marco Brazil works up high. Now on the back of Hamilton and Carboeasy. Wonder if that was maybe why Adam Blocker moved on forward from third to second. He saw, Brazil coming, recognized that maybe we can displace I5G from controlling up front. And so now he's the one that finds himself in this swap back and forth. 37 laps complete. About 30 minutes of racing still left ahead of us. Brandon Traino is going to slide his way back on forward. Brendan Lichtenberg going to try and get up the inside of Marco Brazil. It's just settled in quite nicely, hasn't it? Middle phase of the race. Had those couple of cautions, yes. And so right now sitting on pit lane, Mark Murphy, Matt Pavelski, Nick Sudik, Matt Hollabaugh. Onside of Rashad Craig. And of course it is the month of May, so we've got the beef. Not just cooking down in the garage area. But also down on pit lane. Not apparently though between Nick Sudik and Matt Hollabaugh. Conversation between them. Or Matt Taylor maybe, excuse me. Bit of conversation after the lap 1 incident. And seemingly settling everything since then. So as still these two at the front go back and forth. We'll reach the halfway mark of this race next time by. started down the back. It's probably around the time now that you want to be moving forward. You can't afford to just continue to sit here and wait for too much longer, if we're being honest with one another. As much as there is still time in the race, you don't want to leave it too late. Throw a pass once more as the King of the Bricks leads at the line. Big jink to the inside from Rob Malechka, and then back into line there. That's concerned me just a little bit. It's not the thing you necessarily expect to see, is it? Now this is the danger. The fighting between Marco Brazil and Brendan Lichtenberg. It's not totally dropped them from the draft, but it's left them in danger. So all you really need as well is to be put in a spot where no longer can you rely on those in front to help you out. And yes, we are on the highway to the danger zone. Now, I'm not going to sing that for you. We had Jim Neighbors sing Back Home Again at the start. That's probably enough singing for one RaceSpot broadcast. I did think about singing it myself, but I'm no Jim Neighbors at the end of the day. Now Christopher Demerit next to try and pass Marco Brazil. Doesn't quite get it done. Now, you can see just through the short shoot, that's where the struggle really began to build. And what does that mean? Malechka makes his way forward as well. Next up would be Jacob Boaston. Michele Costantini. Now something's happened to him. No doubt here. He is going slow. That's not great for Andrew Marquez. Miscommunication. And there is no way that Michele Costantini has not hit the wall at some point. I'm assuming that's kind of where the bleed off in speed happened. The replay machine will try and catch what was the cause, though, because I can tell you that Michele is now officially down in pit lane. Let's go take a look. So we're on the highway to the danger zone, didn't I? So that's when Marco had his brief moment. So off of turn 4, what happens here? Marco hits the wall, and then you can see the front wing go flying. Ricochets off the wall. It's a Mario Kart shell, and in the live pictures, Phil Krause comes to blows. Marco Brazil slides up the track, and somehow no one will hit him. Here we go. Oh, there's some netcode there. No ifs or buts. Pretty sure that 20 behind would have had a pretty good view. So let's ride with Kevin Burrell. There you see there's a bit of air between them, bit of air between Brazil and the wall. And off to the inside they slide. And big junk, unfortunately. It means we will not see green flag pit stops. As much as I was just getting very, very excited and enticed by the prospect of them. So, pit crews get ready to go to work. And drivers get ready to make sure they hit their marks. An important pit stop here coming up. Can make it to the end. Michele Costantini stays on the lead lap. Did take his front wing damage change as well. So as AJ Musselman points out, this is actually probably amongst the best case situation for him. Watch the pit exit. Who wins the race? Traino has the best exit spot, and look how he's positioned his car with intent. It's angled and off and away. Traino wins the race off the pit lane, and by a margin. It's going to be Blocker, Akabuizi. As we watch Phil Krause further back in the field, unfortunately. Traino, Blocker, Akabuizi, Lichtenberg, and Demerit. So when we go back racing, expect there to be, trying to do the math, never a good idea for a commentator. 32 to go, maybe? Something like that. Ballpark it. That, I guess, does mean that, yeah, you probably don't even need to save much fuel to get there to the end. Might not even need to come in for a top-off. Depends how brave you're feeling. Now, you could always pull the Prime Arjuna strategy, which is let's sputter out of turn 4 and have Adrian Fernandez run into your rear end. Highly recommend it. We did have that great race here from, what was it, 2 years ago? It had to be at least 2 years ago, because it would have been 2022 at the earliest. But when Alexis Newsom tried to do it on a stop shorter, right, and spluttered on the run to the line. Now, my voice was totally butchered going into that race, was totally butchered during that race, totally butchered after the race as well. I'm in a similar situation right now. So, no Alexis Newsom on track. Still plenty of i5G drivers to try and do a strategy of a similar ilk. At least one could argue. I hope at the very least anyway that they're not listening to me for strategy advice, because that would stand them in very poor stead. Very poor stead. So you can hear the drivers now just gearing up. Lights are off on the pace car. Here we go. Brandon Traino ready to lead us back to the green. He's got some experience at doing this, you know. The only multi-time winner of the feature split broadcast, whatever you want to call it, but the race that counts for the iRacing Indy 500. Off and away, we get ready to go as the green flag flies, and across the yard of bricks already, Adam Blocker under pressure. Here comes Hamilton and Akabuizi. And to the inside, fresh off a big victory here at the Speedway. Akabuizi forward. Lichtenberg around the outside. Can he do so as well? Adam Blocker almost like he's in slow motion, passed by two different i5G machines. Can they make that 3? No help from the teammates for Christopher Demerit, but the 144 lunges into turn 3. He's forward. And now the i5G wall sits 1 through 4. How can you find your way forward? Well, it helps when you've got some teammates. Here comes Robert Malechko. He's gained 14 positions so far, and he's finally found his power slide counterpart. These cool temperatures as well, let's not forget, mean it's going to be racy for the 32 laps that we have in store. Jacob Oster went from being involved in the opening lap incident to now potentially still having a chance. Look at him around the outside of Jason Brophy. The spaceman sets the rocket ships alight and gets his move done on the private label Team Hype driver. Still has some work to do, and Oster was one of those in contention in our 2022 iRacing Indy 500. It was him, Newsom, Steele, 3 i5G machines, 3 wide out of turn 2 on our 1-lap shootout. Adam Blocker looks like he's gone in the wrong direction somehow on the setup swing or something. You got the Worm Man, the Spaceman on the inside. And now i5G control the top 5. Only momentarily though. Defense still on offer. Adam Blocker keeps himself in front. And there goes Robert Malechka to try and challenge the green and gold. Let's turn up the engines, listen in to the Dallara IR18s rumbling around the speedway. And of course the words, new track record, are something that I think every fan wants to go to Indy and hear. On an exciting qualifying weekend that resulted in a former winner of the iRacing Indy 500, Scott McLaughlin, grabbing his very first pole position for the great race, the greatest spectacle in racing. That's Penske perfect. That yellow submarine looks like it was on rails. Promise you it was anything but. Those 16 corners of a qualifying run. Oh, looking forward to hearing all the drama from the drivers and not being a part of it. We'll have coverage on Friday night of the final qualifying sessions of both the Open and fixed iRacing Indy 500s. So that should be exciting, but I think finally it's sunk in. The fuel-saving games are starting to be played. Look at how they've all checked up on top of one another. Demerit now leads, Trainer in second, Lichtenberg, Blocker, Oster, your top 5. Alexander Russell representing, of course, Satellite Racing. He's in the mix. Driver that's got plenty of oval experience, competing on the eNASCAR Road to Pro ladder. Got a smile on his face as well. Looks like he's having some fun. Next thing we need to do is try and get these drivers to give us a wave when they realize that they're on the broadcast. Some are more brave, some are more confident, and do actually do that. Jason Brophy do that? I think he'd be pretty locked in right now. Slides to the inside of Russell. Doesn't slide his way forward. See the overspeed on the outside. It's just got the ability to carry its momentum. Marble's not playing such a big, detrimental factor to the drivers here on iRacing. Allows you to put half a car offline, a full car offline. And as long as you're not understeering with dirty air, it might not be so bad. Kevin Burrell alongside of Andrew Marquez. 2x2 behind for 8th position. Alongside, Lucas Lodato pulls out of line trying to make the move. Andrew Marquez, though, holds on around the outside. Michele Costantini's doing a decent job, if there is still damage on that car, to hold on. Michele did come back down to pit lane in the pit stop cycle that we had. I am unsure as to the impact of that decision. Was it necessary to maybe get a bit of the side pod damage fixed up? Laps to go. The grandstand's packed here at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What a good sight. What a great sight. And really right now, as much as I could be shouting about every little thing that's happening, let's be real. You've only got to lead one lap here. We are closing in on the lap that counts. We'll see the checkered flag at the end of lap 8. This time by 57 laps complete. Still demerit from Traino. Pace is picking back up, albeit slightly. Still seeing, by the way, of our 24 starters in this race with an iRacing strength of field of, I believe it was 5,500, 5,500. The average I rating is probably not the correct word, but it adequately describes it at least. The best of the best are here to play. It is very cool, though, again, just to reiterate, if you're joining us for the first time, overcast in the sky, not necessarily what we'll probably see for the iRacing Indy 500, as much as this is somewhat topical and maybe acceptable, realistic for some of the forecasts that have been bandied around for this coming weekend and the real world running of the greatest spectacle in racing. That track temp still something, though, to keep in mind. The 4 Firestone tires can only take so much abuse. Special Indy 500 tires as well, let's not forget. The Waiulis, not the regular alternate or primary compound of road course tires that we use. Instead, no, it's a speedway specific tire, as one would suspect, to try and conquer the loads of 220, 230 miles an hour. Sustained, contained loads as well. Behind, Jason Brophy, Robert Malechka, very similar liveries, but two very, very different teams. Unfortunately, they are not racing in the private label mega team power hype slide, whatever team we're calling it now. No, Rob Malechka's just been too lazy to change his paint back from his April Fool's joke. But no longer April. We're almost in the 3rd week of May. So you know what? Unacceptable. Unacceptable from Rob Malechka. "15 laps into the fuel run," if you're curious, by the way. We were just on the edge at the time of the last caution to get there to the checkered flag. Another caution would probably make it pretty comfortable on fuel. On tires, it is a slightly different story. Now, I said they look like jet fighters. They sound like jet fighters as well. Can we get the new guy to come and join us here on RaceSpotTV? It sounds so good. The only thing that, sometimes startles you is when you're sitting inside of turns 1 and 2 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're watching the drivers absolutely book it off of pit exit. Like, when I say book it, you see the cars moving around, cool tires, of course. Wow, it is an experience. And then you're just looking down at turn 2, and then out of the corner of your ear, you hear, wha-bam! You look around, see Colton Herta upside down, sliding towards you, the screeching of the roll hoop, the aero spring digging into the tarmac surface, and then coming to a ginger halt just in front of you. That was my first experience of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. When I went there in 2022 for the first time. Caught a red eye from California. Landed at whatever it was, 6 in the morning. First thing you do, Charlie Brown's. Second thing you do, go to the Speedway. Third thing you do when you leave the Speedway, go to the Indy Memorabilia Show, of course. What better things could you do with your day? And you wrap it up, of course, by going over to Lucas Oil Raceway, to IRP, and catching a bit of Carb Night action with the Silver Crowns, with the Road to Indy open wheel machines as well. So much motorsport on Carb Day to enjoy. And then if you're feeling brave on Saturday, you can always go and watch the Little 500. Or if you're a little baby like me, get your beauty sleep and rest up for the big day on Sunday. 15 laps to go next time by. We ride with Rob Malechka. Sits in 7th, has climbed 13 positions. What more does he still have left in store? I mean, Akabuizi started in 2nd, dropped down to 8th. That clearly tells us something. What do you read into it, though? Could you be the engineer, the strategist that makes the big play? Wins your driver, the team. The iRacing Indy 500. Not going to be that sort of a call right now, you feel, though. Stay out of trouble, be there at the end. Hope that in the mad dash to the checkered flag, you come out by a nose. You see the yard of bricks and the flying flag first. Jacob Oster's going to try the crisscross. Jason Brophy got very, very sideways. Big snap of opposite lock. And here comes the freight train. First Oster, then Malechka, now Akabuizi. Hear the tires screaming out almost there as well. One small mistake. And now instantly, I think Jason Brophy removed from race-winning contention. Malechka will try and get past Jacob Oster. It's his teammate, though, trying to interrupt the rhythm up front. Blocker versus Traino. This time for 2nd. And the red of the Apex Racing team holds on for now. Now that was Marco Brazil behind into the wall hard. Second incident on track that will not see the caution come out. No complaints from the drivers. It's really committed. Maybe a bit too committed. 3 wide, they go. Adam Blocker down low. The king of the bricks in the middle. And Demerit up high, backing out. We've lit the fuse. Now when does the proverbial bomb go off? A move heard around the world. 3 wide, and you can survive. Christopher Demerit had a big moment there and decided to be smart. Phil Kraus has a big moment and sees the caution flag fly. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to get rowdy. Now, was that a solo car incident? Did the great Phil Kraus, championship leader, make an uncharacteristic mistake? You can see the car is loose, working hard. Out rear end steps around, avoids the wall, and avoids being hit by anyone as well. One more look at it, as I do get the sense that he will be down to pit lane for a new set of Firestone tires, maybe a brand new driver's suit, courtesy of the private label Team Hype as well. Oh, now, I don't think Alexander Russell got through that scot-free. Hashtag blame Phil. Who is going to be able to edge out the rest of the competition on the dash to the yard of bricks at the end of the race? Should be, what, 9-lap shootout if we don't see another caution. Knock on wood. I hope you can hear that. I'm frantically knocking on the wood around me. Now pit lane, who fakes? Who dummies? Nobody. Tires, clearly important. So Brandon Traino gonna lead them in in synchrony to pit lane. It's a race off and away. No fuel, really. It's the Firestone tires that we're thinking about. Here we go. Akabuizi's a little bit crossed up. That's not ideal. Brandon Traino first off and away, then Blocker, Demerit, Lodato cycled forward, Malechka, Oster, Lichtenberger, Akabuizi down to 8th, Brophy and Burrell. Some big shakeups up and down through the field. So make it 8 to go when we go racing. Slight correction. And at that point, we're pretty close to as well, you know, the point of no return when a caution would end the race. We don't have the luxury of the red flag. We definitely don't want to have the burden of a green-white checkered. No, instead, this race was scheduled for 80 laps. It will go 80 laps. Unless someone pulls the power cord on the iRacing servers. Hashtag don't do that, please. So into pit lane comes Lucas Lodato. Now I did wonder, he was only stationary for 3.7 seconds. Has he now realized that, oh wait, everyone else was coming in for tires and not fuel? And is he going to drop to the back potentially? Have a bit of a monster restart. We'll find out. Here we go though with the wave buys occurring. Marco Brazil, Alexander Russell, Phil Kraus, Connor Harrington and Mark Murphy are the drivers who are hustling to catch back up to the tail end of this pack. Who is your contender to grab the victory here? As you join us on RaceSpotTV for coverage once again on a Monday night of the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship. Arjuna Kankipati here with you in the broadcast booth. And excited for what lies ahead. Not just here and now, as we get ready to see our winner, but for this weekend, for the Indy 500, for next Monday. We'll be racing, of course, from Detroit. Drivers are going to be thinking about qualifying for the iRacing Indy 500, the greatest spectacle in sim racing. It was at one point i5G controlling the top 5. Now they're scattered through the field. Traino up front, Demerit third. Oster and Lichtenberg alongside Akabuizi in the midfield. And then Costantini down in 10th position. Brandon Traino knows what to do. He knows how to control these restarts. The king of the bricks holds and now punches the throttle. Racing once again, and with 8 laps on the board, who can strike? Traino has an advantage. Is it too much of an advantage? Behind, they're all on top of one another. Langford, Taylor, Kraus and Russell. That's not the lead pack though. It's not where the contenders are going to be. It is where they're going 3 and 4 wide, maybe to their own detriment. Up front now, it starts now. Rob Malechka's gone to the top, and Rob Malechka's gone to the catch fencing. Heavens above. Rob Malechka wanted the win. He's just been fed a healthy dose of the catch fencing. Christopher Demerit's joined him too. Adam Blocker may have led at the time of the caution, or Jacob Oster. We'll find out. Talking about voices and maybe not having one at the end. Hashtag blame the drivers. Figure out though what happened here. So it was always going to be feisty. Rob then goes to the inside. I'm pretty sure Jacob bounced off the wall momentarily, and Jacob Oster would have led at the time of the caution. Marco Brazil, well, into the side of that chassis of Demerit. There's no other way to describe it. We'll get a shootout at the end, just not sure how many laps. I'm also not sure who is not going to come down to pit lane. A super slow-mo replay might not actually tell us that much. So Demerit arcs the corner down quite aggressively. That definitely not a helping factor. Here we go. Jacob Oster's on board will tell us a lot more. I mean, he pancakes the wall, that's for sure. And flipping end over end in the background. Just goes from bad to worse. So this is the initial incident, into the catch fencing for Malechka. And then, bam, goes Marco Brazil, taking out Christopher Demerit. Oh, it's great to be back home again, isn't it? No, wrecked race cars. Fantastic. Lights are still on the pace car, so at most, it will be a 4-lap shootout. Blocker apparently will be your leader, given that Jacob Oster is back down on pit lane. Wow. I'm not speechless. I've seen worse and weirder things on iRacing, as crazy as that is to say out loud. But mistake. Uncharacteristic mistake, potentially. From Christopher Demerit. As we find out catch fencing. Catch fencing, not great. So I'm just reading the Discord in our iRacing IndyCar community Discord channels. As Matt Pavelski has said, hello to everyone else that ran out of talent. Bring it in, homies. I think now we know who Nick Sudik was referring to in the apology. Actually, wait, no. Matt Pavelski got mixed up with Mark Murphy. Matt Pavelski didn't get mixed up. There's been quite a few cautions today. We've seen quite a bit. It's what, 5 cautions so far. I just went through and counted. So not an insignificant amount of stop and start. AJ, was it Matt Pavelski? We've got too many Matts in this race. We've got Matt Taylor, got Matt Pavelski, and we got Matt Holliber. So the way that we're going to have to do this is Matt Holliber is the tall one, tall Matt. Matt Pavelski is iRacing Indy 500 winner Matt Pavelski. And then Matt Taylor becomes MadWorks Matt. There you go. No, okay. Matt Pavelski is taking responsibility for the murder. And straight to jail for him, straight to pit lane for our pace car. Will we see the checkered flag? Or will we see the caution? It's a long hold. Adam Blocker has held them for a long time. And maybe was he in map 8 as well. Brandon Traino's going to lead into turn number 1. Off and away we go. And look at how much they've checked each other up. Maybe damage on Blocker's car. Akabuezi's fired his way on forward too. What a great view they'd have from the pagoda. 3 wide at the lead. Brendan Lichtenberg, Akabuezi, it's Brandon Traino. 3 i5G machines on top of one another. Behind them, around the outside for Kevin Morrell in another 3 wide moment. 3 to go at the Yard of Bricks. You can tell what this means. If you can't, you don't know what Indy means. On the inside for the hyperstar, Brendan Lichtenberg takes over the lead. This race needs a green flag finish, doesn't it? The likes of Phil Kraus stayed back early doors, slithering back and forth. Not in the snake pit, but 3 wide, not at the front. Brendan Lichtenberg not alongside. Adam Blocker's going to try around the outside. 2 to go, 5 miles to settle this. Teammates squeezing one another up front. Who wins in this drag race? I can't even call that. Akabuizi and Traino separated by mere pixels. But it is Akabuizi that's got the inside. 1.5 laps to go. Blocker and Kraus, the sole non-i5G representatives, and trying to spoil the fun. Cool track conditions, but feisty racing out on track. Now the teammates up front have got to try and maybe work together to block off any moves into the opening corner. Behind them, Matt Taylor may have grazed the wall, but here we go. 2.5 miles and almost 4 wide. Akabuizi gets squeezed by Traino. Behind into the catch fencing for Kevin Burrell. Akabuizi and Traino going to be neck and neck off of turn 2, but with Kraus having the momentum, and Kraus with the overspeed. 4, 5 wide into the grass for Powerslide Motorsports and Adam Blocker. Phil Kraus cannot get the speed. He gets pinched by the hyperstar. Akabuizi leads out of the final corner, but does he lead at the yard of bricks? Spinning goes Phil Kraus. Get your cameras out. It's the king of the bricks, and by the narrowest of margins, Brandon Traino reigns supreme. It was to be. 22 1,000ths of a second. Take a breath. Relax. Because Brandon Traino is inevitable. Here at the Speedway, the king of the bricks reigns supreme. I'm not allowed to shout apparently as a commentator, but you tell me, does racing like that deserve shouting or what? While Brandon Traino burns it down on victory lane, I mean, let's go back and watch. Let's just take all of this in. So this is with 1.5 laps to go. This might be where Adam Blocker, I think, loses the race in many ways. He goes to the outside, where I don't think we've seen late in the run drivers have the grip and the ability to go the long way around. It then allowed Phil Kraus to try and get up the inside, but I think he got a little then over-eager, over-optimistic in his quest to try and make something happen. And behind all of them, don't forget Kevin Burrell, who behind Jason Brophy and Michele Costantini, oh, he gets absolutely sent into the catch fencing, end over end for him. And then here we go, drag race to the line. This is where Phil Kraus goes outside as well. And I almost went back to puberty as my voice tried to go up a couple of octaves. Yeah, Blocker just had to try something. Lichtenberg could do nothing as well. But he, in trying to pinch, I think actually ends up helping his teammate. And can you spot a winner through all of this? I mean, you tell me where they are right now. Camera gets stopped. How do you say who the winner is? That is the margin that we're talking about. Brandon Traino wins here at the Speedway, and Brandon Traino is inevitable. We'll take a look at the race results. Looking forward to chatting to some of the drivers because wow, oh wow, what a race we just were treated to. The margin again, 22 1,000ths at the line. Akabuizi just missing out as Brandon Traino wins. Adam Blocker ends up in third for Powerslide Motorsports, with Brendan Lichtenberg fourth in his Team i5G machine. Alexander Russell gained 17 spots. Andrew Marquez gained 16 spots as well. To sandwich Lucas Lodato in sixth, Carl Clenworth says he was using the iRacing default setup to make his way to eighth in front of Michele Costantini, his first race in his new Kawanda Esports colors. Steel B Langford rounds out your top 10. 11th going the way of Matt Taylor, and Jason Brophy down in 12th after the contact with Kevin Burrell. One lap down for Phil Kraus, and of course the aforementioned Burrell in the Indy Alliance Racing colors for the very first time, and then Connor Harrington comes back to finish 6 laps adrift. Team i5G's Oster down in 16th with Marco Brazil, Krista Demeritz, Rob Malechka, and then Mark Murphy making up the rest of the top 20. And then don't forget Matt Pavelski, Nick Sudik, Matt Hollabot, and Richard Craig. 24 drivers to see the green flag, not all, unfortunately, to see the checkered. And once again, a reminder of what we have just witnessed here. Across the yard of bricks, the margins so fine, the margins too close to really tell from the human eye. Let's go down trackside and have a chat with your race winner, the king of the bricks, Brandon Traino. Brandon, I mean, I'm just trying to take a breather right now. How are you feeling after 80 laps of racing?
I felt pretty good coming away with the win there. I really didn't think we had a shot before the caution came out here at the end with all the fuel saving going on. I was just kind of trying to save as much as I could and see. When everybody started to go, I was just going to go with them and continue to try to save and hope for the best. But thankfully the caution came out, and yeah, we just worked the draft and the strategy really well there at the end. So.
Now, I know you're not unfortunately going to get to race in the iRacing Indy 500, so at least you'll take this win with you while you're watching the rest of your i5G teammates. But what can we really learn from this race, Brandon? Because cold temperatures, very, very racy. I don't think it's very often we're going to be really talking about drivers driving their way from the back of the field with no qualifying times to the front.
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if this is how the 500 races. It'd make for a hell of a show, but I don't see it being this way. I think it's going to turn into like a normal kind of race where it does kind of single file out a little bit. You'll have your gaps here and there, some passing when tires really start to fall off of a certain cars. So yeah, this is not what it hopefully will be.
Fingers crossed indeed. Congrats, Brandon. What a great fun race that was. And well, we won't see you unfortunately for the iRacing Indy 500. At least will we see you next week from Belle Isle to wrap up our season?
We'll see. It's unfortunate that I'm going to miss next week's race, but glad I got the win out here to show all these people who's really in charge.
King of the Bricks leaves his mark on the speedway even if he's not racing in the great race. Make our way down to his teammate though, Hamilton Akabuizi. Hamilton, 22 thousandths of a second. Did he think you had done enough?
I mean, based on the previous laps, I thought he'd still get me come to the line, but I mean, I'm happy with the P2 for sure. Maybe if I arc it out more in turn 3 and 4, then I can get it. But I'm happy with what I got for sure, just to get the 1-2 with how crazy that ending was for sure.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine from your guys' perspective, really having to wheel it. What I asked Brandon the same thing. What have you learned though from this race? I know you had a great win a couple of days ago as well at the Speedway, so clearly things are going well and your confidence is building up. But cold conditions will go racing in much, hopefully, warmer temperatures. What have you learned in terms of the rest of the team and the teams rather and drivers about what you're going to be looking forward to in the month of June?
I mean, from this race, just really hope the track doesn't get this cold is pretty much what we've learned. Because, here, I mean, just communication was the main thing to, control the lanes and everything well. So, yeah, just learning how to communicate better is always good. But this was definitely chaos, and I guess learn not to blow up. So... yeah.
We had our fun though, don't worry. Hamilton Akabuizi, congratulations on second, and looking forward to seeing you next week as we focus back here at the Speedway.
Thank you.
from second on the podium. We'll make our way down to the final interview, a driver that's seen plenty of the speedway over the course of the past week or so, but apparently can't get enough of it. Adam Blocker finishes third. Adam, cool conditions, talked about already with Hamilton and Brandon, but how crazy was that for you, especially trying to break the stranglehold of the teammates up front in the early stages?
I mean, so for the first whole part of the race, I was just trying to chill and save fuel, really, and just kind of relax and wait for a green cycle, which we never got. Yep, and that last stint, well, not the last stint, the real last stint, we had a caution with 34 to go. There was a fuel save from there, so Rob and I were going to save and then go with 15 to go, and then once we started to go, there was a crash, so kind of erased that plan because I was completely good to go on fuel from there. And some others probably were too, but yeah, felt like we were in a good spot. And then unfortunately Rob crashed, and really with this kind of just packy, unrealistic cold racing, like you really need teammates to win, and they had so many cars, I just was trying to hang on for some decent points because I think there's still an outside shot for the championship. I'm just going to do the math now. But
Ooh. I didn't even realize that, so maybe you'll be able to update on that, us on that. We thought it was basically a foregone conclusion. Talk to us then, while you're doing the math, about your weekend, right? Outside of a plenum issue on Saturdays. Seems like you had quite a great experience with the rest of the Juncos Hollinger Racing team and Agustin Canapino.
yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a shame that we've had so little running with all the rain. I think we would have made even more progress because, you know, we were trying to kind of dig out of a hole that they had last year. But yeah, we had clearly made some big improvements to the car, and we had some good pace in qualifying. Just, you know, didn't put it together on the first run, and then the second run we did was in the middle of the day when the track was just too bad, and then yeah, obviously we had that issue in the last run. But yeah, we looked okay, and you know, practice today, I think we were 4th and 8th with the 2 cars, and I think we still have some things to work on for the long runs, but we're in a decent spot, and you know, hopefully, you know, the Indy 500 just ends up coming down to like a lot of keeping your nose clean and execution, and just not getting caught up in any messes or making any mistakes. And I think if we do that and we have the car pace that we have, we can get a good result. So.
Well, Adam, have you had time to do the math yet?
No, I'll do it. I'll tell you afterwards. But basically, I had only done 7 weeks going into this week.
Gotcha.
So the gap, he's still going to be leading, but I just need to figure out how many points I need to score at Belle. For sure, I'll need to win, but...
Hey, I mean, this was a pretty good SOF. He didn't have such a great round, so you never know. It could mathematically still be possible. Does that mean you'll be with us next Monday as well for the Belle Isle race?
Yeah, it should be. Main challenge for me will be making a setup for it, but yeah, I should have that day off, and even if I didn't, you know, should be able to make it. And yeah, looking forward to it. It's normally a good track for me. Yeah, and just hope everybody enjoyed the broadcast. Thanks to Powerslide for all the effort.
Looking forward to maybe having a championship fight next time out as well. But it's an interesting race, of course, given that we go to a track that, well, I guess in some ways it still exists out there in the real world, no longer raceable. And, of course, now they race around downtown Detroit instead of over on Belle Isle. It's still a great racing facility, though, and offers plenty. We'll see the Waiuli tires once again. That's going to be fun to see how the drivers, like Adam mentioned, have built their setups and compromise for what they need to do as we make our way to the very final round of the 2024 Season 2 Championship. Of course, we've been able to link back up with the NTT IndyCar Series and add back in those real-world tracks, and what a fun schedule that has resulted from that. Not far away, of course, from kicking off Season 3 of iRacing, and some new content to come, albeit maybe not so much necessarily for the IndyCar fans to enjoy. For now, though, it's time to bid you farewell. For the team behind the scenes here at RaceSpotTV, Sir Junior Kankipati signing off from the racing capital of the world. We'll be back here next week with coverage of the iRacing Indy 500 as well as the final round of the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship. But for now, so long and goodbye, where the King of the Bricks has made sure that he's left his mark here ahead of the greatest spectacle in sim racing.